Okay, we've had some amazing lightning talks. I'm so grateful that everybody just like rushed on stage and did their amazing work. I'm not going to give the same type of talk that I usually give, pouring cocktails and doing insane things. This is actually a more contemplative talk, so bear with me. There's a lot of philosophy at the beginning, and then I have an amazing demo that, cross your fingers, it's Firebase, so we'll see what happens. All right, so this talk is called Zen and the Art of Vue. And my name is Jen Looper. I'm a senior developer advocate at Progress. I'm based in Boston, but I travel all over the world to meet awesome people just like you. And you can always follow me on Twitter at Jen Looper. So today our agenda is, we're going to examine a theory of creating quality products by positioning ourselves in this mental model that I'm going to walk you through. We're going to contrast the logical and the artistic. It seems simple, but you'll be surprised. And then we're going to leverage that positioning to build an engaging web and mobile app experience. So we're going to talk a little bit about theory and a little bit about how you can actually use some of this merge of two worlds to create something really incredible and amazing. And I was inspired in this talk by the title and actually the book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And I'm just wondering, who's read this book? It was written in 1971. Yeah? I remember it well, 1971. I was 1 year old. I was a baby. But Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance became an instant classic by Robert Pirsig. And it's kind of cool to read this coming, I don't know how many dozens of years later, but as software developers and as people who also write technical documentation, Robert Pirsig actually was a technical writer. So it's a very interesting perspective that he's got. So ostensibly, this book is just a book about a road trip on a motorcycle. It's a classic, road tripping model, and you're kind of discovering yourself, thinking about your past, thinking about your future, while traveling, in the great west of the United States on a beautiful motorcycle. But it's also an analysis of this half-forgotten past existence when the author remembers how he used to be a writing professor who actually became a lot crazy because he became completely obsessed with the concept of quality, with the concept of good writing. What is good? What is quality? What's the meaning of life? And the poor guy actually has to go through electroshock therapy. It's actually quite a sad story back in the day. But it's also a comparison of the world experience of someone like the author who's very logical and analytical, who's traveling with people who are more artistic. They really don't care, particularly when he starts ranting about motorcycles and the parts and how you have to, change the oil and all this good stuff. They're just not that interested in that. So he commences a series of what he calls chautauquas, which are little short analyses of various philosophical points. And it's a quest really to reconcile his worldview as a logician with this kind of artistic mentality and the pursuit of what he terms quality, and an exploration of what quality is. So he starts this book by talking a lot about motorcycles, although he says it's not really a book about Zen or a book about motorcycles, but he does talk a lot about motorcycles, which is kind of interesting. He talks about the parts of a motorcycle and how you have to tweak this in order for this to run in certain altitudes, and I actually found it kind of interesting. I used to have a moped. Those things are freaking dangerous. Anyway. But his point of view is coming what he calls a classicist point of view. He's someone who is very logical. He's a lot like us software developers. And I really found myself resonating with him as he's talking about, the parts of a motorcycle. He talks about a motorcycle as having components and functions. Some of the components of a motorcycle include its power assembly and its running assembly. This sounds dreadfully familiar to a software developer. And he talks about the what of a motorcycle, which is its components, and then the how of a motorcycle, which are its functions. And it's kind of really cool to think about our craft as software developers coming from this different kind of perspective. And the quote is basically, that's all a motorcycle is. It's just a system of concepts worked out in steel. And he contrasts his kind of logical point of view with a romantic point of view. Romantic not in the kind of love sort of romance, but someone who's a little bit more artistic, a little bit more interested in what's on the surface than the parts underneath and how to maintain them. And he says that, if you were to show an engine to someone with this romantic viewpoint, it's unlikely that that person would see much of an interest in it. It has no appeal because the reality he sees is its surface. So these are a bunch of motorcycle engines. And the romantic person would be looking at the way the light might flow over the metal, but a logical kind of more of an engineering type person would look at what these things are working, how they're working together. And he talks about a romantic viewpoint as valuing the experience of motorcycling more than the machine itself. Well, we talked a little bit about motorcycles. let's talk a little bit about what we like and what we're interested in, which is what is a JavaScript framework? Well, a logician would say that a JavaScript framework is nothing but a system of concepts worked out in code. And a romantic, or more of an artistic person would say it's really a system that makes working with JavaScript more elegant, easier, or as my friend Natalia would say, less error-prone, fewer mistakes. So since we're speaking about frameworks, let's talk about Vue.js since we're here at VueConf. Well, what is Vue.js? Well, it's just CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, says the logician. Whereas the romantic would say it's elegant CSS. It's really nicely built HTML, and it's beautiful JavaScript, and the API is designed for simplicity. We even have a frickin' CLI with a UI. This is amazing. So he contrasts, as I've said, the romantic mode, which is inspirational, imaginative, creative, intuitive, looking more towards feelings rather than facts, versus the classic mode, which is proceeding by reason and laws and seeing the world primarily as underlying form itself. And lest you think that this is just a flip side of the same coin, this is actually a split between two separate worlds. It's very interesting, and I'm wondering if you're thinking about yourself, where do I fall on this spectrum? Well, my quest in my whole career has basically been trying to find a convergence of the classical and the romantic worldviews. I'm coming from a humanities background, doing software engineering now for 18 years, and I'm always trying to find something interesting that I can do to draw on my kind of more artistic, humanistic background within the logical framework of software development. So you can contrast, motorcycle maintenance versus motorcycle riding, or for us, writing software and also enjoying the experience. So the search for quality, according to this author, is finding that sweet spot, the fulcrum, that middle point, right between what in the 60s you would say would be hip or square, what we would say would be romantic or classic, or what we as software developers might call technological versus humanistic. So how can we achieve quality? How can we achieve the creation of a really quality product and a really quality experience? Well, at the moment of pure quality, there's a convergence of subject and object. And this might remind you of another book that was kind of a big hit a few years ago, Flow. I wonder if you've read this one. This is by a person whose name is unpronounceable, but it's a very interesting book because it talks about how you can achieve flow by sublimating the subject and the object, by really committing yourself to your work and finding that point where you're creating something really great, right in the moment. And it's similar to Zen Buddhism's concept of just sitting. Just sitting quietly and not being dominated by feelings of separateness or being separated between what you're doing and what you're working on and who you are. So it's really this kind of convergence and this merging. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Vue.js community has people in it, and actually was founded by people and have people on the core team who bridge that divide between developer and designer, between the logician and the romantic. And of course, I think a great example of this is the work by our very own and amazing Sarah Drasner. Because I think she creates incredible demos that we all know and love, and it's this beautiful convergence of art, design, code, crafted quality, and a great user experience all the way down the line. So what is the Zen of Vue? What is the Zen of Vue? I think this is the fulcrum, right between design and technology. This is that finding that sweet spot right in between so that we can create a really quality experience. And a great example, I think, is the docs. How many people love the Vue docs? Everybody loves the Vue docs, right? Well, I was grateful that Chris Frist, who actually helped me a lot on this talk, he gave me a beautiful quote that I'm just going to read to you. And this is the Zen of the docs. I try to remember that the docs aren't an objective artifact describing the reality of Vue. Its goal isn't even directly to teach people how to use Vue, but rather to guide their emotional and conceptual development in a way that helps them become more content in their work. So the docs aren't about me or anyone else working on them, but about the relationships between developers and their work using Vue. Isn't that a spectacular, spectacular kind of manifesto? Give it up for the docs, give it up for Chris Frith. Say it again? Okay. Well, what if You could create a project that would find flow between 3 platforms. So I'm kind of getting away a little bit now from the philosophy and from all the manifestos, and moving towards, putting this into practice. Let's see what we can do. If you can find flow between 3 platforms without any kind of struggle, and that project would help you create a contemplative work of art to aid in your focus. So I tried to design a demo that would help kind of embody the kind of flow that I hope we can find. So let's see if I succeeded. You'll let me know. I created a demo called Mandala Me. And we know what mandalas are, right? So these are these kind of designs. I'll show you an example in a second. But it's a web and mobile product where you can build your own personal mandala. And a mandala looks like this. It's a work of art that represents the cosmos, and creating one actually is an act of meditation. What you're doing is you're trying to visualize and create pure lands, so you can see that there's north, south, east, and west, and this is a visualization of the perfect world. So it's really the cosmos embodied in some kind of art medium. They're actually really fun to draw if you like to kind of sketch note. But the Zen Buddhists of Tibet actually do this in sand. And it's really cool. If you go on YouTube and you take a look at sand mandalas, the monks gather together and they work together to create bits and pieces of this mandala all together. They recite mantras and sutras when they're creating. And then there's a ritual to just sweep it all away. So they just create this beautiful thing and they just sweep it all away. And it's all very beautiful and ritualistic. It's something to create a look at. Well, I created a poor copy of this experience with Mandala Me. So it's creating your own sacred geometry within a web and mobile app. So let's see how it looks. I want to talk a little bit about, so before I do the demo, how I built this thing. And this is kind of your big takeaway from this talk, actually, because I would love to announce that we have a new Vue CLI 3 plugin for NativeScript Vue. And it allows you to create a code-shared web and mobile project. So again, we'll find that flow between web and mobile using this kind of thing. It's pretty special. And as long as you're looking to create a beautiful experience, why don't you use such a beautiful experience as a developer by using the Vue UI to create this. So all you have to do is create a new project in the Vue UI, and then you install in this Vue UI the Vue CLI plugin NativeScript Vue. It's kind of a long name. You can't miss it. The logo's right there. So you just search for NativeScript and then install the plugin right there. Configure the plugin. There's a couple of little presets that are set for you, and you can kind of tweak these to figure out how you want to build your app. Do you want it as a brand new project, or do you want it as something that's bolted into a web app? And then you run the scripts to start the project for web, iOS, and Android all at the same time. This is really, really cool, using your native emulators. It's beautiful. And party on. Or if you're a purist, you can just go ahead and use the terminal. So you just Vue create a code shared app. Go ahead and pick your presets. You can I have a couple presets already built that use the router and Vuex. And then you go ahead and install the plugin. Takes a couple seconds. More than a couple seconds. There's a lot going on here. And then you set up your Git hooks, you invoke the generator, and then you should have an app, God bless. And you have an app ready for you. So there you go. And I just wanted to give you an idea of what the code looks like behind this. There's a package.json, of course. I always start there. I'll take a look at the dependencies. So we have the NativeScript Vue plugin, which is a separate thing. That's installed. We use TNS core modules, which allow you to create the NativeScript Vue modules. We have Vue, the Vue router, and Vuex already installed for you. And then this is where it gets interesting, because we start differentiating code as we go along. So on the web, we have a file named main.js. And for mobile, we have main.native.js. So you start looking at naming conventions of your files. So this is all scaffolded for you so you can see the patterns that emerge. So you go ahead and in main.js, you do a standard creation of your Vue app. You mount it as normal. In your NativeScript Vue app, for your native mobile app, you're going to go ahead and just start your app once you do a couple of extra installs. And then we have a different concept that you start encountering when you dig deeper into the scaffolded code of forked templates. And this is where people go a little crazy and they get really excited, because we have 2 templates now in one file. One is template web, and one is template native. So you can start really building an app all at the same time with your 2 different templates which are sharing the same file. So this is app view, and we're having, the layout, you have your standard web layout with, UL, unordered lists and that sort of thing. And then on your native mobile app, you'd have, native modules such as action bars, grid layouts, and buttons, and that sort of thing. So it's really a fun and cool way to go and build a mobile app and a web app at the same time. And if you really want to go crazy, we also support, this is a little harder to see, but these are forked templates. So we have Hello World times 4. We have Hello World native or iOS and Android. So if you really want to differentiate your app experience for Android and iOS, you can have separate files for that sort of thing. Personally, I rarely would do that, but it's available, out of the box. So it's something you can try. You can also share your styles cross-platform, or you can scope them according to the platform you want to focus on. It's perfectly all right to have an action bar style, which will only be used on native, and then a nav bar style, which will only be used on web, but living in the same file, and it will just be picked up ad hoc. Works great. So, Mandala Me. The concept is to draw on mobile, build your mandala, and display it on the web. So, let's do the demo now that you have an idea of where I was going with that. Now, Firebase, don't fail me now. I have no confidence. Wi-Fi, okay. Okay, so this is the web app, and this is what it looks like. So it's pulling images out of Firebase that I've already drawn from the mobile app, and you can go ahead and pick images that you like. You can pick up to 4. What is this one? And then I'll go ahead and build my mandala, and it looks like this. Okay, so here's where the rubber meets the road, as we say in motorcycling. I'm going to go ahead and fire up a new movie. And we're going to look at my iPad. I'll go away. Okay. All right, so here is the mobile app. Can you see that? Yes. Mandala Me on mobile. Lovely. Little animation spinning. Okay, so at this point, and I'm actually kind of proud of this because I had to build a NativeScript plugin to support the painting functions that I wanted. So I did it cross-platform for iOS and Android. That's a different talk, but that was a real challenge for me because I've never built a plugin before. So what we have here is the opportunity to set a color, and I'll just take a nice bright yellow. I'm going to select airbrushing with a big width and a little, not so much opacity. And then I can go ahead and start drawing beautiful things, clouds. Let me get a different color in here. Purple. Go down, go up. Airbrush flow. Let's go for paintbrush. And that's a paintbrush. Go like this. A little heart in the middle because we love you. Okay. And then we'll go back. Come on. And save it. And cross your fingers. Upload. Yee, all right. I'm not going to push my luck on that one. Okay, let's see if it came through. So Firebase should have picked that up, and it will be right there. Yes, so let's see what we just built. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Now we build the mandala. There it is. So you can see the clouds right in the middle. Thank you. And you can even manage your mandala. You can manage it by making a little faster or slower spin. I tell you that creating this demo, I got really dizzy. It's a little, a lot going on. Okay, so I would love to just walk you through how I actually created Mandala Me. The architecture is built with the same strategy that I just showed for a basic code-shared web and mobile app. But I also used Firebase, as you just saw, and thank the dear Lord that Wi-Fi held up and it worked. So I also used Vuex, because using Firebase and Vuex actually works really nicely together. I used the new plugin that I built and the side drawer on both web and mobile, and Vuetify on web. So here are the extra bits and pieces I needed in package.json. For Vuex, it was kind of interesting to do this because I need to use different types of Firebase, different versions of Firebase on web and mobile. So I created a little import specific to native where I'm using NativeScript plugin Firebase. And then on the regular Firebase for the web, I just import the standard Firebase and then I use it in Vuex. That worked out pretty well. So that's another way you can kind of separate the code. Where these kind of projects usually fall apart are around plugins. So you have to just watch out a little bit. And then main.js looks like this, main native.js. So you do your imports and you initialize Firebase and you fire that sucker up. App view is really, really simple. It looks like this with a web template and a native template. You noticed on the mobile app, I hid the action bar, so you can just set that. I am using Vuetify on web. And then I'm separating my styles on these two platforms. So I have style web and style native. And then welcome view is very standard and basic on web. It's basically just a little Vuetify app with a little card and a button. Very simple. And then on native, it looks like this. So it uses a plugin called the multi-drawer so that I can swipe to the side and use a side drawer. And then I import the plugins that I need in this file. So I use my PaintPad plugin that I created, the color picker that you saw, that sort of thing. So I just import that and use it only on native. So that's my demo for talking about code sharing as convergence. I hope that the philosophical stuff in the beginning feeds a little bit into the demo at the end. I would love for you to find your flow as a developer by building simultaneously for web, iOS, and Android. Give it a try. It's actually a really fun challenge for yourself to see how I can find this kind of convergence. And you can focus on user experience by doing this sort of thing because this stuff basically is a plugin and it gets out of your way. It gives you some strategies for code sharing, but it's not going to force you into forking your files according to iOS and Android. You can do it if you want to. So it really kind of stands out of your way. And it provides a great native app experience appropriate to the platform that you're targeting, whether that be iOS or Android. And you can enjoy this ease of design and development by using this kind of flexible plugin. So I just want to leave you with this quote from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is actually very beautiful. And it's the Buddha, or the Godhead, resides quite as comfortably in the circuits of a digital computer or the gears of a cycle transmission as he does at the top of a mountain or in the petals of a flower. I thought that was pretty spectacular. And if you'd like to come and see me, I'll allow you to create your own mandala and we'll display it on the web. So come see me and my iPad is at your service. Thanks so much.